Rod Rosenstein, the former Deputy Attorney General, testified before the Senate's Judiciary Committee. Senator Graham said that there was no there in August of 2017. I wanted to ask you if you agree with that statement, and why is that time period, August of 2017, so significant in your estimation?
Well, let me answer that specifically to on your point of your question. So what happened in August 2017 is Rod Rosenstein finally put together what's called the scope memo of the investigation that was 4 or 5 months later after he appointed Robert Mueller to run the special counsel. And in that scope memo, it's essentially filled with the Steele dossier, the Clinton dirt, the Democratic National Committee dirt, where they smeared it all over the Trump campaign, opened up an investigation that then ultimately turned into the Mueller investigation. So here you have August of 17, months, nearly a year after this whole thing has been debunked by the people that were running the investigation. Okay, so they knew in January of 17 that there was nothing to the Steele dossier. They know the sources were either bogus, phony, or lying, and essentially there were no Trump people colluding with any Russians by 2017. So you have to ask yourself, what on earth was Robert Mueller doing and Rod Rosenstein doing using that dossier months after this investigation was ongoing? And I always say, when Robert Mueller walked through the door in May of 2017 and says, "Where are the Russians, guys?" And they say, sorry, Bob, no Russians here. Oh, okay, let's just open an obstruction of justice trap on the President of the United States. That's what they did.
And it sounds like Mr. Rosenstein more or less admitted a big chunk of that in his Senate testimony. Is that accurate, do you think?
Rosenstein, I would say at best, is a very slippery figure. You know, his answers, I have to go back and actually read specifically through his testimony because I'm not sure it really matches with our investigation, the House Republican investigation on the Intelligence Committee. It doesn't really match what we know about what Mr. Rosenstein knew and when he knew it. And I want to be very careful with that because we want to go and look and analyze it. But I can tell you I'm at a minimum, I would say, I'm perplexed by Rosenstein's testimony of being, unaware of all these things that occurred in 15, 16, 17, and 18, especially when he's there in 17 and 18. Very bizarre answers, I think, he gave the Senate.
Would it occur to you, in your opinion, that he was perhaps being disingenuous with the committee?
Well, there's a fine line between disingenuous and lying. And that's what we need to we need to figure that out. But I got to look. Look, he's been a lawyer for a long time, been at DOJ for a long time. Like I said, he knows how to operate. And so we got to look at, what really was his testimony.
It seemed like he was, in the testimony, perhaps laying a lot of, implicitly, I think, laying a lot of the blame at the feet of Andrew McCabe, saying that he was misled, or at least implying that, saying that Mr. McCabe was not forthcoming. Do you think that's an accurate description, perhaps, of Mr. McCabe and his conduct, based on what you know?
Well, the one thing that I will say in Mr. Rosenstein's favor is that, he came to the coup late. Well, we don't have any evidence that Rosenstein was involved in the plot to really take out a president in 16 or early 17. But sometime between when he appoints Mueller and writing the scope memo in August of 17, so May 17 to August of 17, Rosenstein effectively knows they're running an obstruction of justice trap on the President of the United States for an underlying crime that they have no evidence of. And that's what really doesn't make sense. Rosenstein appointed Mueller. He claims in the Senate testimony that he had a team. They were getting updates. We really didn't know who was on Rosenstein's team and what updates were they giving him because his story doesn't jive with reality.
Congressman Devin Nunes from the 22nd District of California, Central Valley, the breadbasket of the universe. Thank you for joining us on One American News.
Always my pleasure, John. Thanks for having me.